Hello, this is Colocasia Esculenta, the elephant's ear plant, and you can see why it's called the elephant's ear plant because of its huge leaves, and they get even bigger than that. And it sits here in my UK exotic tropical plant border, right next to the Tetrapanax, another plant with enormous leaves. I've got my Musa Basdew here, my hardy green banana. That's towering above me, and that's got massive leaves. I've also got another form of Colocasia too, which is the pink china here. That's a hardy Colocasia that can stay in the ground all winter. Another name for this is Taro, and they do grow this as a food source in some countries in the world. And I'd heard if you can find a taro bulb, you can plant it and grow it on to one of these. And that got me thinking, because I paid £20 for that plant, and you can probably get taro bulbs a lot cheaper than that. So I went out in search of a good quality international food importer, and I dropped lucky because I happened to find Quality Superstore near Stoke-on-Trent, and I will put their details in the description box below this video. Now, when I was inside Quality Superstore, I was looking at this quite curiously, wondering what it was, wondering if it could be a taro, and I was approached by a brilliant guy called Nads, and I happened to mention to him that I was looking for some taro so that I could plant it, and he was a mind of useful information, and he furnished me with some tips on how to choose the right bulb and how to plant it, and I'm going to share those tips with you in this video. And there's one really important tip that you must follow if you can find some of this and you want to grow it, and I will be sharing that in this video too. Now, these do look familiar to me because I had a huge one of these Colocasia Esculentas in a tub, and I decided to split it and propagate it on, and it had little pink shoots coming out of it. So this one here has got little pink shoots coming out of it. So I think we're already onto a winner there. Let's take these over to the table and talk about how to choose the right bulb and what to do with it when you get it home. Now, there are never any guarantees with this. It's always going to be an experiment. But as I've already said, that Colocasia plant cost me 20 quid. And this little bowl of taro was under £4. So if you can get that to produce that, I could turn £4 into £80. So it could be a very profitable experiment. All you can do with this is follow the advice you've been given and exercise some gardening common sense. So what we'll do first is we'll have a close look at one of these bulbs, and I'll explain to you what Nads told me when he was looking at these and choosing them for me, and he selected these for me. So I'll bring the camera in close and I'll show you what we're looking at. As you can see, there's a pointy end and a flat end, and it's this end that will be pointed upwards when you do plant it, pointy end down. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but just there's a little lump on the side of this one, and that is like an eye that you get on the side of a potato. Try and choose some where there is evidence of these little lumps, these little eyes, because that is where the new plant will shoot out from. So there's an eye there, and there's a lovely eye on that one there. Can you see a lovely big eye sticking out? There's the top, there's the eye, and it will be planted like this. I was also advised to look for these rings on the top, so try and choose some with an eye and some rings on the top, and that is your taro, and hopefully when that gets planted you'll get some success. Now, that one there is the one which I mentioned before, and I will try and find some footage of the one I separated, which had this little pink nodule on it, which is where it was shooting out from. So that's the pink bit there, which leads me to suspect that we might already be on to a winner. There we go, 4 lovely little taro bulbs, a little bit of white on that there, so I'll brush that off, and we'll get these planted up next. And while I was in the shop talking to Nads and his 2 colleagues, Bernard and Matthew, I was also told to consider growing sweet potatoes, and I bought these 2 sweet potatoes, but Nads has already grown a sweet potato, and he actually gave me the sweet potato plant that he's grown. I'm going to have a look at sweet potatoes in another video, which when I've done it, I'll link it at the end of this video. As far as the taro are concerned, they do have to be planted in a certain way, and there's one very important tip that you must follow, which I'll share in a moment. So, a pot and some standard potting compost. Put some in the bottom. It's already moist, and these will need dampness in that soil to start to propagate. Now, I was told to plant them with that much soil over the top of them. That's about 3.5 to 4 inches. So I'm going to leave some space in here, put a bit more in, and then we'll plant them into that. I'm going to put all 4 into one pot, and then when they get some evidence of growth, and I'll plant them around the edge, and when they've all started growing, at some point in the spring, I'll be able to divide them up a bit. So those bulbs are now going to be inserted pointy end down into this soil very gently. I'm not doing any damage to these doing this. I'm just very gently placing them onto this already damp compost. 1, 2, 3, 4. In they go, and you can see they're equidistant apart, so they've all got an equal chance, and they're pointing upwards with those rings clearly evident, and that's the one with the pink on it there. So let's now cover them up very gently with this already damp compost. Now I've filled that almost to the top, but I have left an inch or so at the top so that when I water it, the water doesn't flow out over the top. I'm just going to gently tamp it down, but I'm not going to firm it down too much, because providing those bulbs are damp and dark and they've got some contact with that soil, they should, in theory, grow on. There is one very important thing that you have to remember when you're doing this. Now, at the moment, as I speak to you, it's the middle of November. It's deceptive because these plants shouldn't really be here still. We've just not had any frost yet, but by now we should have had a frost and they should have all died back. This has got to be kept in temperatures somewhere around 15 degrees centigrade. It doesn't have to be kept in the light. The bulbs are in the dark, they're buried. It doesn't matter about light at this stage. It will matter about light when they start to emerge, but at this moment in time, they've got to be warm and damp. If they are cold and damp, they will rot, just as that bulb will if it's left in the ground over winter, or if I don't take some steps to protect it in the ground. So there we go. That's the big tip. It's got to be kept warm. Now you could put it in a greenhouse, but a greenhouse might well drop below 10 degrees. So the tip I was given is keep it in the house, inside the house, where your average temperature is going to be well above 10 and hopefully somewhere around 15. Keep it moist, but not waterlogged. Again, we don't want to be too wet because we don't want it to rot. There's enough energy and carbohydrate in that taro bulb for that plant to grow on. And there's some moisture in the soil, and hopefully in a month or so, we'll start seeing some green shoots. And I'm hoping that this will just get big enough to divide by spring. And I'm about to create another new, bigger exotic tropical border. And these 4 plants can take pride of place in that border. Do subscribe and hit the notifications bell, and I will keep you updated and informed on the progress. I'll also put a link to this shop and the address in the description box below this video. And Nads and Matthew and Bernard, thanks again for your help and your advice and your tips. And I'll see you soon for some more Colocasia and sweet potato adventures. Bye for now.